Back again. More comments. Yes, I didn't realize how long this guy's comments go on and on and on. So anyway, might as well read it. I'll give him his. I gave him his shot. He's going to type all this crap. I will respond, but this is stuff that's already been over in video, so it's a little disappointing to just have the same shit rehashed over and over and over. Anyway, do you really believe that no experiment contradicts your assumptions about light? So, again, he calls them assumptions when they're consistent with most of what physics states. So, beyond the idea of, well, there really isn't no idea. In the sense that there's no evidence countering my description of the reality. And he thinks, so he's just going to say Michelson-Morley, Michelson-Morley, Michelson-Morley. Every single interferometer experiment that has ever been conducted, ipso facto, disproves your theory. How so? I don't understand. So, because I find critique possible in the sense of saying they've overestimated the power of the interferometer because they're not understanding the mechanism and how it's creating the detecting changes in path length, so to speak, why there's a difference. See, they think they're measuring the phase difference between a photon. So they think they're measuring this tiny distance of, say, 4 or 5 or 600 nanometers. And they're not. But I mean, they're still measuring vibrations, of course, but it's not nearly as accurate as they think it is. It's not nearly as sensitive as they think it is. But regardless, there's nothing in what I'm stating. The contradiction exists in your theory. See, if you don't think that a half-silvered mirror diffracts light, just like a diffraction gradient, then you have to explain how it's different. Why does it not obey the same rules? I mean, do I have them up here? Where do I have the little frickin' films? Well, I have them somewhere. But, I mean, those experiments are demonstrated. It's demonstrative evidence. And I'm just saying when they don't account for that fact, it's glaring. Because it's a fact. It has to happen. Your own theory dictates it happens. So the contradiction is with your theory. Anyway. So does pretty much any laser experiment, including reflecting lasers off the moon. So how does the laser off the moon experiment prove anything I've stated wrong? It's an incredibly insipid. They send gigahertz worth of photons to the moon. They hit a spot on the moon that's dozens of meters across, maybe bigger, maybe hundreds. And in that big giant circle of laser light that hits the moon, there's a little reflector, a foot across, and it reflects back some light. And what they get back at the telescope is just maybe 100 photons. Tiny, tiny, tiny bit of the signal comes back. And because they're sending the signal at a frequency, that is, the light not only has the frequency of the laser, but it also has a frequency they put on top of it. The laser's a carrier for their frequency. They get enough photons back to detect the signal they put on the laser. But they're getting back 1/100000th, 1/1000000000th of the light they send. How does that inconsistent with my theory? Alright, just because you can't remember things that have been mentioned doesn't mean a jury in court of law wouldn't remember them. Remember what? I mean, we've done the videos. I mean, if there was an issue left unstated, point it out and I'll do another video on it. But, I mean, there were many videos done on all these subjects. And I sensed, I saw no issue I left unanswered. If you really think this is a trial and you're a litigator, then you should respect the evidence that's on the record. What fucking evidence? So again, just amazing. They keep claiming they've demonstrated something, and I keep pleading for them to put it in some form I can see, because I don't see your evidence. Let's see. Unless, of course, you want to be dishonest and blame it on a conspiracy theory. Well, I'll blame it on liars. You're a liar, plainly. I haven't blamed any conspiracy theories. I haven't done anything. I haven't evaded your fucking issues. Point out the issue. I've pointed out that Michelson-Morley had nothing to do with anything but their silly notion that they were going to demonstrate that light had drag in an ether. They were attempting to prove the existence of an ether. And you're claiming that that experiment, as crudely done as it is, demonstrates what? Relativity? Because it doesn't. It can't. Possibly. Shit. Anyway. Unless, of course, you want to be dishonest and blame it on a conspiracy theory. And don't mention silvered mirrors. Why not? There are many types of interferometers that don't diffract. Says you. Every single one, in some way or another, is going to create the same phenomenon. If you use the angle of light and reflect light off plain glass, no matter how you do it, there's going to be the implications of distortion. There's no way to avoid it. You think you have perfect beam splitters. Well, you don't. Amazing. And regardless of why it happens, this pattern changes as a function of distance. So he's just emphatically, you're the one making declarations. You say you know why the pattern fluctuates. And of course it has something to do with the notion of distance, in the sense it has to do with the notion of movement. But anyway. And regardless of why it happens, so again, you don't care about the why. I do care about the why. This pattern changes as a function of distance. So again, that sort of gets right to the point. My whole focus is on the why it happens. And it seems like your focus is on, we just care about our notions of what we're seeing. And they're just notions. If you were right, you wouldn't be able to use interferometers for measuring distance. So again, demonstrate that with some sort of real evidence, not just you farting out of your mouth. I'm saying the instrument isn't measuring as accurately. It's not measuring the wavelength of light. So the sub-wavelength of light, actually. Phase difference. Because first, the light that goes into the experiment isn't coherent enough. It's not on the same phase. It has the same frequency, but it's not on phase 100%. So there's no theoretical basis for this idea that you sent two light beams of exactly the same phase in these two directions. Because in fact you didn't. If you were right, let's see. But since this is not the case, you're wrong. So again, you haven't proven anything or demonstrated with evidence. That's more logic you can't get. No, what's logic you can't get is if the LIGO instrument was so sensitive, why have they never shown any demonstrated results of it detecting anything else besides black holes? Why haven't they shown it detecting chemical plant explosions hundreds of miles away or something? Why do we have no evidence of the sensitivity of this instrument except their claimed hearing of black holes 5 billion light years away? Let's see. No clouds imply no rain, whatever that means, not vice versa. You're too stupid to know this. You're too rude, arrogant, and ignorant. You're obviously just a fanatic kook defending your god. Your gods. Anyway, honestly, you keep referring to how this conversation is like a trial. Yes, and how your evidence is incredibly weak, and you're just insane in sitting there with this poorly drawn evidence. You have drawings of evidence. You don't even have evidence. And claiming you've proven something. And proven it so well that you don't have to in any way account for arguing the case any further. You have this conclusive proof. You don't have it. And how scientists are not playing by the rules of a fair trial, but have you ever actually looked at your own? So he says, it calls it fallacious logic. So why don't you quote some of the fallacious logic? Quote the non-facts I've stated when you make your arguments. Go ahead, quote my non-facts. How well do you actually think you could do as an attorney putting modern physics on trial? Well, the day when I'm actually tested, that is tested by getting the opportunity to humiliate and make a fool of a professional physicist, which I have no doubt I can do, then we'll see who wins. How would you argue against someone's knowledge in the rules of rational argumentation? That's not even a rational question. How would you argue against someone knowledgeable in the rules of rational argumentation? The rules of rational argumentation is not to be a dishonest, misparaphrasing, lying, slandering asswipe like you, a cheater, who can't get my argument correct in the first place and then argues against the incorrect argument, creates straw men. That might be professional lawyer behavior in unethical civil society, but it's not honest. It's not a good game. I'm going to play a good game. You can play your little dirty game. I maintain that you would get smoked. Well, time will tell, asshole. You'll be on the ash heap of dumbass, and I'll be perfectly satisfied that that's certainly where you belong. You demonstrate yourself to be unthoughtful, disrespectful, rude, obnoxious, slandering liar. You would have your ass handed to you in court. We'll see. Time will tell, butthead, if these are your arguments. Shmeh. Yeah. What are your arguments? Where in all this typing have you made a factual-based argument, where you showed a fact, linked to a fact, did anything that demonstrates a single proposition of my theory that is inconsistent with evidence? Nothing. There's nothing here. You keep yelling at your computer monitor. It's not what I'm doing. I'm acknowledging your bullshit conversation. I'm at least reading it and responding to it. And now you're still complaining, you fucking cunt. Knowing full well that Hothaday isn't in the room with you to answer what points. Look, we've already made these points, okay? If he doesn't understand how to do a video response yet, then he's too fucking stupid. And apparently he doesn't, because the only kind of time he'll ever quote me is when he quote mines me. Alright? He doesn't play my videos and respond to my points. I have a lot of overview videos posted where I go right through the theory, point by point. Does he play those videos and point out how something can't be true? Because if he does that, he knows any response he makes is going to be so easy for me to defeat. Because he doesn't have any evidence. He doesn't have any argument to make. It's a perfectly valid theory that does what a theory is supposed to do. It creates a straighter line to the solution, not a crooked line. Alright. Let's see. Hothaday isn't in the room with you to answer what points he has in fact brought up that you forgot. So again, there's nothing's forgotten. I plead with you assholes to be able to sit there and write a rational sentence. You can't write a rational sentence pointing out what question I haven't answered. You can't form it in such a way that's even an answerable question. I'm pleading with you. Show me your evidence. Fuck. What points have been brought up to you to refute Hothaday's points? He hasn't argued against my points is the whole point. I bring up the fact that the two-slit pattern isn't smooth like it's supposed to be. I bring up the fact that lensing has consequences and none of the consequences are observable. He makes up some crap. Okay? I point out how an article doesn't match the images in the article. He pretends that he says, well, it's obvious they composited the two images and put a fake date on it because you're too stupid to understand. So they faked the evidence. That's how he defends the science, right? I haven't heard his response to the 25% margin of error experiment proving the speed of gravity. That somehow it makes sense to publish an article that has a 25% margin of error and it's proving that gravity moves the same speed of light as light. It confirms it. And the experiment has a 25% margin of error. And that's good science. What was his response to that? I haven't heard his fucking response to that. He doesn't respond to the two slit points I've made. It doesn't match in water on the single slit. They apply Huygens in the single slit, no Huygens in the double slit. Single slit, the slits are the A variable. Double slit, all of a sudden the impediment's the A variable. All that's supposed to make sense somehow. No, none of it makes any fucking sense. And you just keep defending a science that doesn't work. Again, dark matter. What's Hasseltad's response? Does Hasseltad think dark matter was invented for any other purpose than to fix mathematics that wasn't working? Does a conversation about dark matter, does that conversation exist for any other reason than the fact that the math doesn't work? Completely opposite to what he says, that it's always perfect and always works and it's always consistent and it creates everything. It's wonderful. It made Trump Tower, this wonderful quantum mechanics. Well, quantum mechanics, we couldn't build Trump Tower. You point out how it doesn't work. You point out how the math isn't perfectly accurate. And they just sit there and glibly march past that and pretend it never happened. You point out how can you have a thing called a beam splitter that diffracts the light? One beam gets diffracted, one beam doesn't get diffracted. How can they be the same light? What's his response? Oh, that's right, it doesn't exist. God, you're such a liar. Anyway, so, let's see, where was I? Is there some way I'm supposed to think this is not just a rhetorical device on your part? So it's, I'm the one evading, I'm the one using rhetorical devices when it's Hasseltad who quote mines, never answers the points I've made, ever, the failures of his physics to do what he claims it does, ever, and I'm the one using rhetorical devices. Sure. Hasseltad directly and duplicitously contradicts himself in videos, saying relativity is indestructibly proven, and in the same video says all the great physicists think it's dead as a theory. How do you make sense out of that? I mean, seriously, how can you defend somebody who does that? What's your defense for Hasseltad doing that in a video? How is that rational? Oh, amazing. To think you're just rhetorical device on your... What points have you brought up to refute Hasseltad's points? What point has Hasseltad made? Again, you keep saying he's made a point. Where is it? All he said is, geometry proves space is bent. I don't have a counter argument to unicorn says so. I can't argue unicorn says so. Oh, Jesus Christ. Why can't you answer this? Answer what? What point has he brought up? Like I said, how many times can I plead for you to sit there and write it in a sentence? Put it in bold type. Write it like 6 times. Repeat the question I haven't answered. Lying sack of shit. Let's see, have you stopped beating your wife yet? That's exactly what you're doing here. You're just lying and forcing me to defend myself against your lying, your misparaphrase of my theory. And why should I accept that, you troll? Anyway, you probably don't even know the difference between acceleration and velocity. So I've made dozens of videos on the subject, the specific subject of the acquisition of velocity and the process by which matter acquires velocity, and explaining how the force has to hit something. Something with force has to hit something else for the force to be put into it for it to gain velocity. So I've only been through that process so many times, and yet you'll do this. And you're saying you're being honest? Amazing. I mean, it's amazing that you can be this much of a scum. Just amazing. So let's see, velocity, or speed and velocity. Why should I even worry about the word speed? Nobody's using the word speed. Anyway, because you're be dumbass. No, because you be a liar, scumbag, troll, dishonorable, creepy motherfucking cunt. Yeah. See, I can use rhetorical devices too. Well, that's all you've done in this entire post. There was nothing else but rhetorical devices. Presumptions that there's a problem that I haven't solved when I have solved them. Presumptions that my theory indicates some kind of truth that they doesn't indicate. I mean, it's just rubbish. Let's see, let us know when you're really ready to start arguing fairly. So again, he thinks this is fair. These false premises, these non-existent quotes, lie quotes. Quotes never came out of my mouth. He puts quotation marks around things I never said. Yeah, right. And he talks about fairness. What a scum. And it goes on somebody else's board, like I said, with the name, you suck. There was another comment by him. I don't know where it went, but... Well, it's good, I guess. They both disappeared. I think I only deleted it, but, yeah. Well, whatever. Doesn't really matter. I guess he deleted his other rudeness. So I think that's it. Alright, so this one guy types this crap about how we all should get along, and that's really nice, but again, it's it ain't gonna happen, because people are obviously invested deeply, in protecting. There's something about their philosophical theories that is, like especially with Pyrrho, I would say this is true. Their philosophical theories are dependent on the universe not being clockwork and not being mechanical. Anyway, it's saddening for me, this guy looking for a little understanding. Oh, I'm not really looking for understanding. I'm just looking for a fair trial. I'm just looking for the opportunity to demonstrate that the evidence, okay, demonstrates a reality, and that there are viable other alternative explanations for it than silly things like silly rules like Heisenberg, photons don't know where they are, Huygens, they have radar, and nutty notions of warping four-dimensional space-time. Then nothing warps in 4 dimensions, and time is a dimension, not a function. Yeah, there's a better explanation than that rubbish. Alright, it is saying, okay, I hear the negative emotion-laden expressions of obviously intelligent people. Well, to you they're obviously intelligent, not obviously intelligent to me, on a subject that ought to be handled with dispassionate reason. Well, it's hard to be dispassionate about anything, but the reason part should, I mean, the overt dishonesty of these people, that's the key issue. It's not really about being reasonable. It's about not being dishonest, and their overt dishonesty. The fact that they don't accurately quote me, they don't accurately describe my theory, and they certainly just make up fake consequences of my theory that don't exist. Don't you think, question mark? What is the reason for this intensity that I read? Well, because like I said, I think it's an attack on their wish and hope that they have free will or something. that there's not only a magnetic and electric field, but there's a human field, and there's a love field, and all that kind of crap. The warped and bent human love field. Okay. The man on the video seems to be upset because he feels attacked. At least that motivation is a little understandable. Yes, well, again, the relationship between me and Hafide is, as is all his relationships, frankly, are it's not repairable, because his rudeness is epistemic. It's just part of his arrogant, pompous, I'll teach you attitude when he is a ignoramus. Still, I hope the man and woman discussing such an interesting and significant issue as this could do so in such a way that we could have more respect for you and your arguments, and increased curiosity about the nature of our physical reality. But like I say, they take it personally, so there's no way they can do that, because it's their religion. So it's just like saying, well, religious people ought to be able to dispassionately talk about earth geology and history, and they can't. Please examine yourselves and the way that you choose to express yourselves, to give this subject matter the respect it is due, and to not repel people from listening in and contributing. But they want to repel people from doing that. They're trying to stop people from talking, just like the religious people try to close down conversations about evolution by calling them evil atheists, and they're the devil's warriors, and that kind of rhetoric. They're just trying to, it's just a bunch of hate rhetoric to silence the conversation, because they don't want to have to deal with it. Hathaway clearly has a tremendous double standard. His truth isn't subject to examination. Everyone else's truth is. The truth is hard enough to discover without our human psychology interfering with the search for it. Again, they're not searching for the truth. They're defending a dogma, a religion, a devotion, a tradition. They're defending their mommy. Our science may never really know more than approximations of reality, but I think that our progress has been severely hindered because of the flaws of human nature. Well, no duh. Let's not contribute to that by becoming emotionally entangled with the ideas and personalities involved in the search for the truth. Yeah, I'm sorry, those are really nice words, but again, that's not their intent. Their intent is to shut this conversation down, because they are comfortable with the unicorn theory, and they don't want anybody changing it. What is true, whether we favor it or want it to be or not. Well, I know, but frankly, they don't care what's true. They just care what is the social norm or meme, the dominant belief. Help us who don't know as much and who might not be as smart as you are to appreciate the subject as much as you passionately do. Thanks. So you're being way too generous to these people. They don't really do their research. They're just idol worshippers. They don't know anything about how Einstein built his equations. They don't know anything about how to solve them. They don't know anything about what the variables represent in the equations. And yet they will proclaim that they must be right, and that they have something to do with bending space and time, when the equations just have something to do with the relationship between matter and velocity. And, spherical geometry. Alright, so we'll, maybe we have a little time, we can do some holiday. Oh yeah, lots of time, cool. So yeah, his comments on his video, of course, are all, these arrogant asswipes. The entirety of science is filled with disagreement, with the only deciding factor being the data. So he's saying the data is decisive. So if we have an image of some stuff in a telescope image in a ringed pattern, that data somehow speaks for itself, and it says it must be lensing. And there's no reason for disagreement. I mean, it's just stupid. The whole point is the data is indecisive. You know, the data is inconsistent. The single slit experiment, nothing like water. The double slit experiment, something like water. Those inconsistencies in the data are the problem, asshole. That's what science is. What? Perfect data? Too bad we don't have any of that. It is what allows it to progress. Just complete mush. It is a core fundamental. So again, fundamental to what? So you're saying it's not possible that Einstein was wrong, and that for 100 years science built a foundation that was completely wrong. And ironically, late in Einstein's life, it's what he believed. He was completely uncertain that he was on the right track, using those exact words, on the right track. He said, if you think I'm satisfied, you're wrong. You know, if you think I'm some happy camper, you're wrong. And I go so far as to think I might have been entirely on the wrong track the whole time. That's Einstein's lament. And these assholes are still talking as if this is unshakable truth. It could never be wrong. It's impossible that this could be a wrong foundation. But lunatics like Hoffaday, this very video, this is the very individual who sits there in a video and argues both sides. Argues that, yes, bent space is dead. It's a nonsense. And at the same time argues it's the most proven theory in the history of mankind. Why don't you point to that and say that's what's wrong with the world? Duplicity, hypocrisy, nonsensical double standards. These are the enemy, asshole. Double standards are the enemy, asshole. Double standards for what is called evidence and what is called proof. And if you assholes could have something like a consistent standard, then there would be some hope of doing good science. Alright, that is what science is. What allows it to progress. It is a core fundamental. That's a little redundant. The fact that these cranks, so everyone who disagrees with you is a crank. They have no knowledge. They have no argument. You have defeated them all with your what argument, with your what evidence. What knowledge do you have? What authority or credibility do you have to, I mean, where have you qualified your opinion to be that obnoxiously arrogant? Alright, anyway. Refuse to acknowledge such a central concept, and you refuse to acknowledge the central concept of not being duplicitous in the standards you apply. Duplicitous in what you call evidence, duplicitous in what you call proof. Concept is just pure delusion, willful ignorance. So a silly concept in itself, willful ignorance. I'd say you people are willfully arrogant. Okay, you are willfully cheaters of the facts and the truth. Okay, to sit there and play this little game of we got you. And you have to be a we. Because without your club, you'd have no power. You know, mano a mano. I crush you. Yeah. It's also hilarious how they attack some of the most experimentally confirmed theories. Like what? So again, this idea that you have this strong evidence, when I have over and over and over again pointed out the weakness of the evidence. You don't think that the fact that the single slit experiment doesn't match the single slit experiment in water maze, right? The fact that light in the single slit and water in the single slit don't match. You don't think that's evidence that creates doubt that you've got the right theory. You think that confirms that light's a wave, when it does exactly the opposite. Alright, anyway, experimentally confirmed theory. So this is the most experimentally confirmed theories. Like what? Light experiments, things traveling the speed of light. We have a ton of evidence experimentally of things moving half the speed of light. when we have zero evidence of such things. I mean, amazing bullshit. And say we need more evidence, while at the same time believing, often fiercely, like in Mendham. I'll have to read more. In Mendham, theories that have zero evidence to back them up. So he's saying that mock gravity has zero evidence defending its existence. That it has nothing to do with gravity, and that's why they called it mock gravity. Is because it has nothing to do with matching the evidence of gravity. You know, and I mean the rest of it I can't argue except the fact that my theory actually explains magnetism. He can't explain it. You know, brace yourself, guy. Do you have an explanation for why two magnets are attracted? What mechanism actually moves the atoms in the material and obliges the atoms to move towards each other, or obliges the atoms to move away from each other? Do you have any mechanism whatsoever? Well, my theory does. Ha ha. You lose. So there's actually a replies to his own comment. What's even more ironic is that these cranks call scientists religious, etc., when in fact they are, by fact. Okay, when scientists aren't the ones saying these theories are the be-all and end-all, whatever that means, they aren't saying these theories are 100% correct. So he just argued how they're proven, the most experimentally confirmed theories. And now he's saying they aren't saying they're experimentally confirmed. They're not saying this is the truth and everything else can't be true. When of course that's exactly what's being argued here. The only argument is they're saying there's no room for a conversation about causes because we already know what the causes are. It's bent space and time dimensions. Alright. Unlike the cranks, which often believe their theories are the ultimate theory of everything. Well, what anyone believes is their business. I'm just saying it's what they can defend. Now, there's lots of people who have theories and they don't defend them. Lots of people talk about how they have magic. I know Tesla's secret and I can make a perpetual motion machine, and they never produce anything. So obviously, you know, there are people who never produce anything called evidence. I'm just saying the evidence of my theory is the fact that it fits the evidence and explains forces that were never explained by your physics. Thousands of years of thinking about it and you didn't come up with an answer. I did. Scientists believe that these are the best solutions we have currently. Yes, your group. Okay, so it's like saying us Protestants believe this is what Jesus really meant, and those Catholics are stupid fucks. That's all you're saying here. You're not demonstrating there's some change in the evidence. You have exactly the same Bible, you're just reading it differently. I mean, for fuck's sake. And until something better comes along, well, that's the whole fucking point. Your minds are closed to anything better. We stick with it. Right, you stick with it, and you obnoxiously call anybody who disagrees with you a crank and put them in a category that they should be dismissed and not listened to. And that's all you're doing, asshole. You're quite obvious in your function. Your function is devotee, fundamentalist kook. The proposition is all cards, this is flapjack batter. The proposition is all cards are valid. Well, I'm not going to bother with this silly. Apparently he does some sort of 3-card Monty trick, and that somehow has something to do with making an argument. I doubt it. Somebody, I guess, should have done that to Einstein. Here, Mr. Einstein, shove this thought experiment up your ass. Fuck this, assholes. Don't you know they just go with the first thing someone says? I don't even know what that means. Oh yeah, I forgot. Beam splitters. They don't know shit about beam splitters. Okay, so again, instead of answering the critique I've made and pointing out how the beam splitter that is a half-silvered mirror, how that isn't a diffraction gradient by their own theory. So why don't you explain to me how their theory leaves room for you to create open gaps, little tiny gaps arranged in a random order, and how that doesn't create a diffraction gradient. Why don't you explain how there's room in their theory for that possibility? Because there isn't any room in their theory. I'm just letting you know. But why don't you defend your statement? We should just all listen to the man who hasn't touched a single beam splitter in his entire life. He knows what's right. Well, obviously I have, in the sense that a diffraction gradient is exactly the same thing. It's a piece of plastic film, and if you turn it at an angle, it will reflect light, like a mirror, a little bit. Anyway, so you can use it as you can use diffraction gradients, thin films, plastic films, as a beam splitter. It's just not a very good one. Oh, amazing asshole. Alright, in the case of the two-slit experiment, which he probably never done. What? So I don't know what Brace Yourself said this. In the case of the two-slit experiment, which he probably never done. These are quotes of some kind. What? Now, I don't know what that means either. Obviously I have done it. It's just that I haven't done it with a precision that I'm satisfied with. So anyway, I noticed from doing the Enigma puzzle in New Scientist, so again, these people like doing puzzles now. I don't see how doing puzzles has anything to do with this conversation about the causes of our material reality. So I really don't have it has anything to do with physics. Now let's see, let me get this straight. Science, physics, physic. Science, physic. Never bothered indexing all various, oh dear, my eyes are so bad. Quorum, C-O-R-M? That can't be a word. Various quorum of polarity. Likely because it's a non-religious philosopher's. Science, physic. Jobs, probably. Alright, this is written well. And you say it's magic. So again, he says polarization. He implies that because I point out how polarization is the thing that gives the whole universe functionality. And Hofstadter's was right in the middle of that whole point in this, like 2-3 years ago, where there was this whole discussion when you create this field of energy kind of thing, that there's a point where you can kind of theoretically understand that it all kind of grinds to a halt, that nothing can really change, you know, when you have direct kinetic interactions, because it is all kind of all in the same dimension. Nothing takes a motion from this dimension, you know, forward and back, I mean left, right, and moves it into this dimension, or moves it into this dimension. And that was a key moment in the development of my theory, was when I realized that's what the matter bit was doing. It was taking force in one dimension and moving it into another dimension. You know, taking something going left-right and moving it into up-down. And that created the whole right turn thing, the box, the trap, and it created the whole idea of this polarization, the magnetism. I mean, so it's so fundamental, and it's just so ironic that he's now using this notion that somehow polarization isn't a fundamental feature of quantum mechanics and physics in general. That it wasn't a fundamental feature of even Feynman's quantum electrodynamics. It's an integral part. It's the fundament of the whole interaction between electrons and protons. And, you know, it's just amazing that he's saying, I'm just making up a notion of polarization. It's some synthetic fake thing that I just personally made up. Gary showed up to make up this fake property. Amazing bullshit. Amazing duplicity, to be so desperate as to attempt to degrade my theory by, in a sense, diminishing the gigantic pile of evidence demonstrating the property of polarization. Anyway, various quorum of polarity, likely because of non-religious. Okay, so thermal polarity doesn't exist then. The hot up, cold down, no natural flow. Cold up, hot down equals natural flow isn't a type of polarity. Well, frankly, that's, in my opinion, it's really not the same conversation. because that's really a difference in force pressure. It really doesn't, pressure is different than polarity in the sense of configuration. So there are fundamentally different things. I mean, you can think of it as low pressure being a pole and high pressure being a pole. I mean, a difference in terms of circumstantial disposition. Like the thing is different if it's under high pressure than it is when it's under low pressure. And that difference could be filtered. So in that sense it could be similar. But it's really not the same thing as, strictly speaking, as polarization. Vacuums get colder, pressure get hotter is just magic, right? These are really bad sentences. Vacuum gets colder, pressure get hotter is just magic, right? So in your head, 1 plus 1 always equals 2, 2 plus 2 always equals 4, right? So it never happens that the answer, well, I think 2 plus 2 always equals 2 plus 2 always equals 4, yeah. 2 times 2 always equals 4. Yes. So it never happens that the answer shouldn't even be there. This is going really bad. The grammar's getting worse and worse. It never happened that at time 2 plus 2 equals 1, maybe even 0. Depending on what you try to qualify. If science think like you. If science think like you. They wrong ask, non-religious. Yeah, I'm just going to give up. Sorry, that's just terrible. I've already read the Stephen Burrow comment. Fuck off, that guy is. Turned out to be a huge disappointment.
Let's finish this game off again. I'll try to.
Okay, finish this game off again. So he's going to make some sort of decisive argument how my theory's wrong with this AB23 bullshit. I don't think so.
It's announced the death of DraftScience.
Right, so somehow he's got a decisive argument somewhere here. Now, it'd be really great if he could articulate what that decisive argument is, but he won't do that.
Let's put the nails in the coffin of this.
Okay, yeah, so another like Feynman and the rest of them who says, the nail in the coffin, the Young experiment. So Newton's single slit experiment was sitting around for 150 years. And it wasn't until Young showed up with his two-slit experiment that all of a sudden we had to start explaining rings. Amazing. He thinks that's a point on their side. No, that's a point on the side of, oh, they are a lot dumber than you would possibly imagine. Young didn't know about the single-slit experiment. He didn't know it had already been done.
Let's explain why DraftScience will never be taken seriously and will
Okay, blah, 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 blah.
will always be understood as DraftScience.
Yes, whatever. Like I said, I'm going to bury you. Those words are going to be shoved down your throat for all of time. And I'll certainly make, if I'm still alive, I'll certainly make sure of that. But I hope the prodigy of, the people who appreciate the fact that I had to go through all this nonsense to make a simple argument challenging what are supposed to be intelligent people, and obliging them to answer a few questions about how their evidence isn't as strong as they claim it to be. I hope the future will make sure it's shoved down this asshole's throat, even if it's his dead corpse.
DraftScience has the idea that there are forces can be explained in terms of an aggregate sea of colliding fundamental particles. And these fundamental particles are actually all there is. They all travel the speed of light. And it is true that you can get a notion of force.
Okay, wait for this part, right? So yes, he got that part right until he went, it is true you can get a notion of force. So it's not until he gets to this part. No, that's already a notion of force. A bunch of things moving the speed of light, crashing, flying around. As soon as I put a material thing in there, something they can hit, I've already created a notion of force. This automatically leads to this. It can't do anything else but lead to exactly this. Every arrow that will hit you will look like it went all the way across the universe just to hit you. And every arrow that misses you will be invisible. That's exactly what this turns into. Now, if you don't think this is a force, a field of force heading right for you, if you don't think that's a rational description of what that looks like, then you're pretty fucking irrational.
From this principle, you can get a notion of several forces, as many forces as you want. If you
So again, he says as many forces as you want, and where can I create any force with this? I can create a pressure. I can create a pressure. What other force can I create out of this? I need to create I have to create arrangements of objects to even create something like the frequency of a photon. But how do I create any force I want with this? So again, a statement that has nothing to do with my theory. My theory doesn't speculate on you can make up any force you want. No, it has to be consistent with this the dynamic of this simple argument that all the quanta are of the same energy potential, and the only difference is they have two polarizations. They have two distinct shapes that can be filtered. So instead of telling the truth, he has to do this lying, that somehow I'm arguing for an infinite number of pretend forces. No, there's no infinite number that can be rationally consistent with the mechanism. The mechanism doesn't create an infinite number of forces. It's just a lie.
include a magical polarization type property.
Okay, so again, he called polarization a magical property. Like magnetism is a magical property. The Earth's magnetic poles is a magical property. Light going through a pair of sunglasses is a magical property. It's not a phenomenon consistent, just layered in physics. All over the place in physics, the idea of polarization. The fact that electrons and protons are monopoles, I mean, it's just completely fills physics, is filled with the notion of polarization. It is its function. And here he says something this ludicrous, that I just made up a magical notion of polarization. No, I'm explaining the cause of polarization, you dumbass. The polarization that is observed all over the place in all of the evidence.
Selection property. It's magical so long as you give no...
So again, it's magical. No, it's not magical.
A mechanism to the selection process.
Again, I've given a mechanism. Protons and electrons are doing the selecting by moving the force perpendicular. That is the right turn. So that's the selection process, the right turn. Now he wants something even deeper. He wants me to explain every single inside mechanism of, say, an electron or something. His own physics doesn't have to do that. Bent space, we don't need anything at all. Just draw it on a piece of paper and I'll just look at the geometry and say, that's fine, that's great. I see how your lines converge. That's all you need, is converging lines on a piece of paper. I don't need anything else. Yeah, that's how it works. Obviously the matter can see the drawing and knows the lines converge, so it knows exactly what it should do, because it just looks at the drawing. This is the duplicity, the dishonesty of this motherfucker.
Mendel provides no detail about this.
Again, I provide a lot of detail. I have the drawings on the website of the interactions between the protons and the electrons, and how the differentiation between the reactions they have to these two colors, the fact that the electrons react to the red ones different than the black ones do, and the black ones react different to the black ones than the red ones do, is all you need to create the phenomenon we observe in the universe.
Selection process, and gets rather upset at being told that he has to, he needs to. Yeah,
okay, so they don't have to explain anything. They can come up with a wacky explanation like Huygens, for which there's absolutely no evidence that exists. They can come up with dark matter, no evidence that it exists, right? Nothing. So he's saying, as long as I come up with a lie or fake, so I'll just make up a mechanism. I'll make up a little leprechaun who's sitting inside the electron and going, he has a little hammer and he whacks the red things. He says, I don't like red, I only like green. So he lets the greens pass by and he whacks the red ones with a hammer. Now if I do that, okay, I'm a legitimate scientist. So if I create dark matter, or I create Huygens, then I'm doing good science. Just create something, can't be disproven, okay, and that's all you have to do. Job done. Bullshit. Clearly, it's not that complicated a mechanism. But again, he wants me to see inside the electron and tell you how a simple thing is happening. Green ones go through, red ones turn. You know, one of the 4 directions. You know, left, right, forward, back, versus straight through. So the green ones go straight through, the red ones turn. That mechanism he needs me to explain, or he can't believe it's possible.
It's just as big a question that it's true that in orthodox science there's no mechanism to...
Okay, it's true there's no mechanism in orthodox science. So he's pointing out exactly his hypocrisy. He's saying they don't answer the question, and that's okay. You have to answer the question. You not having the answer is not okay.
Function of fields. And it's true that in orthodox science we know this.
It's okay, yes, we accept not having any explanation for the mechanism, and we don't accept you not having an explanation for the mechanism. It's that kind of hypocrisy. See, we're just overtly duplicitous and hypocritical. We don't have to explain how bent space moves mass. We don't have to explain how time gets warped. We don't have to explain how dark matter exists. We don't have to explain why Huygens exists and can create an infinite number of waves in a confined amount of space. We don't have to explain a motherfucking mechanical thing. You have to explain everything. The grotesque hypocrisy of this motherfucker. All you people are such fucking hypocrites. Duplicitous, double standard bigots. That's all you fucking are.
And we've just resolved ourselves to say that this is the best way of talking about reality.
Yes, and I've resolved myself to, it's the best way for me to talk about reality is to convert all of your sloppy, wavy, fake fieldy, mushy bullshit into 5 simple little rules about the function of polarized quanta that unifies all the physical forces and explains all the physical phenomenon. And yes, I've resolved myself to the fact that, yeah, I'm never going to look inside of an electron, though.
Because of the wonderful work it's done. The quantitative...
Okay, so the wonderful work it's done, again, by comparison to what? Do you have a version of reality where it would have been if you didn't take the wrong turn 100 years ago, and where physics would be? I could argue that humanity would have been a lot further along if it didn't take the wrong turn of Christianity or all the other nonsensical religious notions. So again, this false comparison to, hey, look at our great reality we made. But you don't get to compare it to anything else that would have been if you didn't have the wrong answer for 300 years. Shit.
Calculations that it allows us...
So again, calculations, again, that I've already pointed out how the calculations aren't always accurate. Sometimes not even close to being accurate. So this overemphasis that, oh, we have this rock-solid mathematics that's just unshakable. And some of it is rock-solid, the inverse square law. The idea that gravity is inductive. Yes, those are all good, functional, relationshipal maths. Yes, you've learned some of the relationships and you have some of the relationships correct. But some of you don't have. And none of these mathematical equations, again, have anything to do with the underlying theory, the Huygens. There's no math that is Huygens. Show me the formula for Huygens. Show it to me, because it doesn't fucking exist. It's a presumption before you do the math. God damn it. You liars.
And the agreement with those calculations, with experiment, leads it to be deemed a good model.
Yeah, so again, even though I have demonstrated how it doesn't, the math isn't accurate, the math isn't explicit, and it certainly doesn't describe the causes, and it certainly doesn't defend their premises. Again, there's no good math for dark matter. There's no math that proves dark matter except for the math that assumes dark matter. Fuck.
There are many reasons why daft science is daft. The first and most important reason is one of methodology. And the other reasons are...
Yeah, so it has nothing to do with the evidence. It has nothing to do with the fact. It just has to do with his theory that if you don't have your head stuck up your ass, somehow you can't do good science. Yes, I don't have my head stuck up my ass like these dorks. So, yeah, that's right. So they can't see it my way because they always have to look, out their ass.
Just flat in disagreement with current science.
Okay, so no evidence of this will be provided. So again, he just says it's in flat disagreement. He doesn't point out where this disagreement exists because it isn't a disagreement. There's no disagreement. I would argue that everything in Einstein's equations, all right, in terms of the force relationships, I would probably say is accurate in the sense of the relationships between mass and velocity and the consequence on the function of that material thing. Again, my theory of time dilation would have I'm not saying his curve using Lorentz is correct, but I'm saying the idea that there would be a proportional relationship between the amount of time dilation, that is clock breaking, and your speed, that there would be a line. I don't think it has any reason for it to be the inverse of the bent space gravity well, but whatever.
And giving different predictions in as far as you can tell, because...
And again, there are no different predictions beyond the fact that I don't think we heard gravity. I don't think solar mass can be converted into invisible, fake, non-real radiation. It has to be turned into some kind of real form of radiation, not bent space radiation. I've already made the video, so there's no point in going over it and over it and over it. He's responded to none of those points in any kind of rational manner, except to say something silly like they faked the image and put a fake date on it because we're too stupid to understand the evidence.
He makes very little effort to be pinned down with such quantitative features.
Again, so he points out how you have no quantitative features. You have no evidence your fields even exist. No evidence of the electrical field, no evidence of the magnetic field, no evidence of what it's made out of, how the fuck it functions, no evidence of bent space, no evidence of time as a dimension, no evidence of any of this crap, no detail, no anything. And yet he's asking me to detail how a little force bit goes into an electron, and if it's red it goes right, and if it's black it goes straight. I have to explain how it does that simple thing, and he doesn't have to explain how matter